This is draft season. John Schmelk and Tony Pauline from the second floor of the official team hotel at the East-West Shrine Bowl in Frisco, Texas. Of course, draft season is presented by Moody's, a proud sponsor of the New York Football Giants. Tony, we've had 3 days. If I turn the camera around where there's a window behind us, you would see about an inch of ice and snow on the ground. So the roads have been treacherous. Right now, both of us still have flights that are ready to go on Monday to get to Mobile. We're knocking on wood to see if that works out. But it's been a fun 3 days here.
You know, it's like nuclear winter here in Dallas. It's unbelievable. Everything is shut down. You know, we're from New York, so we're used to it. It's snowing heavy in New York as we tape this. But, you know, I'm sure their grocery stores are still open and, you know, things will get back to normal in New York 24 hours later. This is like, the only good thing is the people stay off the road. And the roads really aren't that bad. But as I said to John, I think their snow removal plan is wait till spring, because none of these roads have been plowed. In fact, the hotel, the Omni Hotel next to the Ford Center, they did a better job plowing their front valet section than I haven't seen a single plowed road, since the ice started falling Friday, right?
My hope is that all the plows have been on the highways. So when I try to drive to the airport on Monday morning, and you will try to drive to the airport on Monday morning, that the highways are okay. But I'm not feeling overly confident about that. Apparently, since the last ice storm, they did not have it in the city budget to buy any plows or any salt.
And it's ice cold. That's the other thing.
It is freezing. It is like 18 degrees.
I was out the past 2 mornings running, and it's
you maniac.
It's below zero out there. So yeah, it's not only just the snow, but it is frigid, which means it's going to take a while to melt.
So today, what we're going to do, we're going to go through the East-West rosters, guys who have stood out to us, that we've liked, that we've enjoyed watching, and then we're going to do a little preview of the Senior Bowl in Mobile. But we'll do it'll be more review than preview, because we want to go back. Drew Fabianich from the Senior Bowl joined us about a month and a half ago. You guys can go back and look at that. We kind of go through the roster a little bit. We have some more additions. Some of those additions might not actually be participating. We'll have to wait and see. We'll talk about that. But we're going to start first with what we've seen here at East-West Shrine. And Tony, Giant fans not super concerned with quarterbacks, but I know a lot of people in the draft community are. Not the best group of quarterbacks here this week, but who are some of the guys that did jump out to you?
You never do. I mean, the Shrine Bowl is not a quarterback game. I think as we were talking today, I think the last time I saw really good quarterbacks at the Shrine Bowl had to be 15 years ago, Jimmy Garoppolo, however long he was, and he really improved. But, I mean, you're looking at basically day 3 guys who could be number 3, number 2 quarterbacks. 2 guys really impressed me, and both very athletic fireball throwers. Mark Gronkowski of Iowa by way of San Diego State. He made a lot of nice passes yesterday. He's 6'3" and change, 235 pounds. He's athletic. He was a good passer at South Dakota State. Last year at Iowa, he was probably a better runner than he was passer. He showed a lot of skill throwing the ball, especially yesterday. Today was Jalen Daniels of Kansas. I mean, you saw why Jalen Daniels is such a frustrating guy to scout, because today his passes were on the money. He was just ripping defenses apart, getting the ball through the tight spots, incredibly accurate, very emotional. A vocal leader, but then he's just crazy wild. So it's a matter of being able to harness all that, and if you can get him to consistently throw the ball accurately, you'll have something there.
And Clay Klubnik as well. He might be the highest drafted quarterback, and we'll see if he plays in the game too coming up next week. But another guy to keep an eye on as we move forward here.
Yeah, I mean, he was honest. He doesn't show great arm strength, but he was out there and competing, which good for him, especially after the disappointing season he had.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's jump to the running back position here, Tony. And a couple of guys I want to bring up, and then you can kind of comment on all of them. I enjoyed watching Eli Heidenreich from Navy, kind of a third down back slash slot receiver. No one could cover him.
No.
I had a chance to talk to him. You guys can go find that on the Giants Huddle podcast feed. Go check that interview out. But, he kind of talked about how some teams see him as a third down back. Some teams see him as a slot receiver, and he's just trying to tell teams that, look, I can do everything. I can do that. I can play specials. I did kick return. I can cover. I can do all that.
Who was the kid from Navy about, I want to say, 8 years ago, 7 years ago?
I got no shot.
He was their quarterback, and he was at the combine.
I remember the name.
He was a punt returner, and ironically, the same guy that represented him represents Heinrich. But I agree with you. Yeah, he's not the biggest guy in the world, but he proved here to be as lethal a pass catcher as he was at Navy, and the tape at Navy is really good.
No question about it. The other running back from that group that I want to talk about a little bit is Robert Henry at the University of Texas San Antonio.
Yeah.
I thought as a pure runner, he probably looked like the best player here in terms of finding holes and having burst. The problem is that he weighed in at just 5'9" and 197 pounds.
Right. He plays like a big power back. He's a good interior runner. That's not really going to hold up at the next level. So, and I don't know that he has the speed or agility to be a perimeter ball carrier. So the style screams, between the tackles, but the size says you better be able to create and make defenders miss, or you're going to take a pounding.
And then the other player, he only participated in like the first half of the first practice, and he kind of caught a pass, came down on his tailbone, and was banged up, did not participate in practice the next 2 days, and that's Damon Claiborne out of Wake Forest.
Right.
And look, we didn't see a ton of him this week, but he might be the highest running back drafted out of this group just because of his speed.
It's funny because we were talking before about the first player drafted from the Shrine Bowl, and I didn't even think about Claiborne. He could be the first player drafted because I think he's going to be a late day 2 pick. If you watch him, he's an explosive ball carrier. He's an aggressive ball carrier who, you mentioned, hurting himself when he caught the pass, can catch the ball out of the backfield. 2 running backs that I really like, C.J. Donaldson from Ohio State by way of West Virginia, caught the ball well, showed some creativity on the inside. He's more of an interior pounder. He's the hammer in short yardage and goal line situations, but he showed some versatility to his game. And Dean Connors of Houston by way of Rice, he was much quicker than I thought he would be. He showed much more elusiveness, creativity, and that's what you want from these games. You want players to show up and give more, or basically exceed expectations, and I think that's what Connors did.
Absolutely. I thought he did a good job catching the football, too, in some of those receiving drills. I'm with you. All right, let's jump to the wide receiver position, Tony. Skylar Bell, a lot of people like him at a UConn, 5'11", 187, practice on the first day. We did not see him after that.
Right.
From what you saw from him on the first day, what'd you think?
It was solid. Listen, Skylar Bell, as I had reported, he turned down a Senior Bowl invitation to come here because his quarterback, Joe Fangano, I know I mispronounced that, from UConn, was here. So, that was one of the reasons why he came here. He is a terrific pass catcher. The question with Bell is, how big did you say he was? 186 pounds? Yeah. Mm-hmm. How fast is he? He doesn't look like he's going to be much faster than 4.55 or 4.5 guy. So there's only going to be certain schemes that he can play in.
No question about it. All right, let's jump. I'll put these 2 guys in the height, weight, speed category wide receivers. Malik Benson out of Cincinnati, Jeff Caldwell out of Cincinnati, 6'4", 3/4, 208 pounds. Didn't do a ton productivity-wise, but in the one-on-ones, and a lot of that has to do with the quarterback play, obviously. He's big. He just runs past people. You can see the speed. He's going to be a guy that somebody's going to target as a very talented developmental wide receiver.
Was not graded before the season by scouts, but caught fire and had a good year with Brent Sorsby, the quarterback from who was at Cincinnati. Then he's now at where's he going? He's TCU, I believe.
Texas Tech.
Right? I apologize. Yeah. Right. And he's a good athlete that's got to develop into a receiver, as I'm sure the next guy you're going to speak about.
Yeah, next way, I'm curious we're going the same way. J. Michael Sturdivant.
No.
Okay, so we have 2 different guys.
Talk about the kid from Kansas.
6'2.5", 209 pounds, and again, big and showed speed to get over the top.
He was a good receiver. First, he started his career at UCLA, transferred to Florida, and he's been a relatively productive receiver in a lot of bad offenses or offenses that had some questionable quarterbacks. So, he's a solid guy. Could he slide into the very late rounds? Potentially.
All right, and then who did you want to highlight there, Tony?
2 guys I thought did really well. I thought both LSU receivers, Xavier Thomas and Chris Hilton did very well. Hilton's a track guy who had minimal production.
Triple jumper.
At LSU, also a sprinter, combined for, I think, 19 receptions the past 2 years. But you saw, especially on Sunday, he quickly releases off the line of scrimmage, and defensive backs, cornerbacks are constantly running after him, chasing him down the field, and he catches the ball well. He's just got to, do that in game time, not just in one-on-one drills. I thought that Xavier Thomas, his teammate, slightly bigger, not as fast, but a more complete receiver. I thought he caught the ball exceptionally well, and I think Caden Wetchen from Iowa. We watched him. We enjoyed him. Really earned his chops at Iowa as a return specialist. Really wasn't a big part of the passing offense. I think he has 23 combined receptions the past 2 seasons. He showed himself to be a good receiver.
He might have had 23 receptions during practice over the weekend.
Nobody could cover him. He gets right. He quickly gets off the line of scrimmage. He runs great routes. You can see the defensive backs playing back on their heels. He has a burst. So he's going to be drafted primarily as a return specialist, but he showed here at the Shrine Bowl he has receiver skills too.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I think he's going to be a fun player for whatever team picks him up. Could be a big special teams ace as we move forward here. All right, let's jump over to tight ends here, Tony. A strong group. And a lot of the guys on the same team. Yep. One interesting player on the West team is Seydou Traore out of Mississippi State. He could be part of the IPP International Pathway Program. He's from London, but he had a good day. And then the other three guys, they're all on the same team. Eli Raritan and Jack Endries. They both practiced the first 2 days, did not practice on Sunday. And then you have Lake McCree, who when they did not practice Sunday, he stepped up. And what I like about those three guys, Tony, they're all two-way tight ends. They can all block. They can all catch. They're in-line guys.
I think McCree surprised me with his speed, his ability to get down the field. Raritan, he showed better downfield speed on film, but like you said, he was a two-way tight end. Traore of Mississippi State, I thought was the most athletic tight end here. I mean, he was eating up linebackers alive in those one-on-one drills. He caught the ball exceptionally well, smooth. You see no stiffness in his game. I know you interviewed him. He's an interesting guy. He's a good interview. He's got a high upside, and I think what happens with him is a team selects him in day 3, 6th-round area or so, and if you're patient with him and let him develop his game, you're going to have a real good tight end.
No question about it. All right.
One other guy I mentioned, Lance Mason of Wisconsin. A lot of teams liked him. More of your sort of San Francisco 49er tight end type, if you will. H-back, moves around. Missouri State transfer. Went to Wisconsin this year. They did not have a good season, but he showed enough, I think, that if he tests well before the draft, he may get late-round consideration.
Draft season is presented by Moody's, a proud sponsor of the New York Giants. Decode risk, unlock opportunity. Learn more at Moody's.com. All right, Tony, let's go to the big boys on offense and defense. Start at the offensive line here. And I think the guy that really jumped out to us was Emil Wagner out of Notre Dame. Yeah. Just you look at him like that's kind of how you want to build an offensive tackle in the factory. Big, tall, long, maybe a little bit stiff in the hips, but, man, you can see why a team would want to take a chance on him as a guy that could start off as a swing tackle.
Arms, I think, were more than 34.5 inches. Played both left and right tackle. Did show some stiffness, but he also showed a lot of athleticism.
He did.
Held his own at left tackle, sliding out and taking on guys like Rieger of Wisconsin, who terrorized a lot of the offensive tackles. Played right tackle. Not a real power blocker, but a good position blocker. Just a lot there to work with. And, we talked with Eric about him before we even got down here, and Eric and I agreed he's one of the more athletic tackles in this draft, and people just seem to dismiss him, which, in my opinion, is a shame.
The two other guys that jumped out to me, Fabechi Nwawu out of Oklahoma, I thought did a nice job, and so did Armaj Reed Adams out of Texas A&M. I know Brian Parker was somebody a lot of people were watching because he had a position change to center. What other offensive linemen jumped out to you, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, the Texas A&M kid Reed, he's just a big, powerful guy. I thought Garnett DeGiorgio of UCLA, I liked him. Played both tackle and guard, did well at both positions, fundamentally sound, powerful and tough. You mentioned Wagner. I thought that Riley Malman of Wisconsin had a couple of good days, played specifically left tackle, long arms, long frame, but he bends his knees, he blocks with leverage. Jager Burton, the center from Kentucky, had his moments, struggled with Jackson of Florida State today, but overall I think he had a good week. And then Dylan Wade of Auburn, college tackle who projects to guard a zone blocking guard. I thought he showed some nice things here. Yeah,
I'm with you. All right, let's jump to the defensive line, Tony. And this is where I think really the strength of this class is. And it starts with Darrell Jackson, who is just hard to miss. Right. 6'5", 328, 35-inch arms. I interviewed him as well. Again, you can check that out on the podcast feed. And, man, he is just a gigantic human being, and you could see the power. Every rep he takes, no one could anchor against him. He was just pushing everyone back into the backfield.
But it's not just power. He's not just a big, stiff gap occupier. They ran twists and stunts with him, and he was fluidly moving left to right. He's not a guy that's going to get outside the box in lateral pursuit, but he's not a small area guy either. So he's got that size. He's got that athleticism. More of a space occupier at Florida State. He showed a lot of surprising athleticism for such a big guy here.
I thought Tyler Onyedem out of Texas A&M, 6'3", 290. He was in the backfield the first few days of practice all the time. So was James Thompson out of Illinois, 6'5", 301. So if you're looking for some penetrating three-technique defensive tackles, those might be your two guys that are here.
Quick, explosive Thompson all 3 days. I mean, started off hot, kept it going. You mentioned the kid from Texas A&M. Beats guys off with the first step. I thought that Aaron Hall of Duke, number 91, also had a couple good days of practice. Now, Aaron Hall was a guy who wasn't on the scouting radar prior to the season, but he comes here, again, more of your three-technique, one-gap type of tackle with that first step, plays with leverage, is able to penetrate into the backfield and create havoc. You know, the quarterbacks, they had to move their feet. They had to reset themselves because of his penetration. I thought Wesley Williams, as far as edge, are we doing edge rushers?
Yeah, we can go jump to edge. Go ahead.
I thought edge rushers, his teammate Wesley Williams showed a lot. Very athletic, undersized guy like Hall. Struggles getting off blocks, but he's quick. He can bend the edge and the lateral speed, the ability to change direction and get down the line in pursuit. And Mason Rieger of Wisconsin had his moments where, I mean, he was just making some of the offensive tackles look foolish.
Yeah, and then I'll just throw Malachi Lawrence out there. He wasn't super productive this week, but you could see the burst. You could see the size.
Especially
he kind of is what you want out of an edge rusher. And just one more defensive tackle, Tony. I want to throw out Landon Robinson out of Navy.
Yeah.
I thought he was fantastic on the third day of practice. Only one of the teams had a real practice on Sunday. The other team had a walkthrough.
Yeah.
But he was part of the real practice. And, man, Tony, they could not block him. He was chasing quarterbacks out of the pocket and team drills the whole practice.
And what were his official measurements? Because he is your pure three-technique tackle.
Only 5'11", but 291 pounds.
Yeah, that's your three-technique. You go back to James Reed years ago at Iowa State, undersized, plays with leverage, quick off the snap, can change direction. That's what Robinson is. Ethan Burke of Texas, I thought, had a couple of really good days of practice. He's a long guy. He's tall. He's athletic. Can bend off the edge. Was able to exploit some of the offensive tackles because of his agility and mobility.
No, I'm with you. All right, let's jump over to the linebacker position here, Tony. And, Eric Gentry from USC, he was all over the place. Then you look at him, you're like, where do I play this guy? Folks, the measurements are very non-linebacker-ish. I'm not sure what they're ish, to be honest with you. 6'6", 221, 35-inch arms. So he has the length. Yeah. But if you stand next to him, Tony, he's just so slender. But, man, he was around the ball all 3 days.
Looks like he should be on a basketball court, not a football field.
Exactly right.
But he is athletic. He's easily blocked. He gets caught up in the traffic, but what you have to hope is you can put some meat on those bones and that he can keep that athleticism and that quickness and agility. It's been like that with Gentry for 3 years now, though. I mean, I remember watching him 3 years ago, like, wow, I mean, who is this guy? He makes plays, but, but he's is he going to get bigger? He never really has. Sometimes, it's tough for people to gain weight, and I know that that doesn't make a lot of people out there happy, but he may be one of those guys with just a huge metabolism. He can't keep the weight on.
For other people, it's very easy to gain weight. Hi.
Not me.
Shut up. All right, let's go to the other linebackers. I think Jaden Duggar kind of stole the show, Tony.
Yeah.
Louisiana Lafayette, one of the smaller school guys here.
Yep.
He had interceptions on Saturday. He had an interception on Sunday.
Yep.
Just all over the field. Another guy, and if you look at his measurements, Tony, like 6'4.5", 240, almost 35-inch arms. Like, he looks the part, too.
And he's supposed to run the 4.6s, mid to low 4.6s.
Watching him play, that doesn't surprise me.
In pre-draft workouts. Now, he's a guy who, again, came into the season, graded as a street free agent, had 125 tackles last year at University of Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns, not the LSU Tigers, and he's a terrific run defender. There were questions about his ability in coverage, which I think he answered the past couple days.
And then we should mention Harold Perkins Jr. He did not make a ton of plays over the weekend, but you see the burst, and I like the way he interacted with his teammates. So I'm not sure if you noticed that whenever there was a huddle, he's high-fiving everybody, trying to get everybody going. They used him at off-ball linebacker. They had him play as an edge rusher on Sunday in pass rush drills. You see the athlete. He's measured in, and guys, this is again very similar to Gentry in terms of where do these measurements fit as a player.
Right.
6 foot, 220 pounds. This is very similar to what Landon Collins measured out actually when he came out of college, when the Giants drafted him in the second round. But he's a linebacker. He's not a safety.
Right.
That's the trick.
I think Perkins looks more like a big safety than he does a small linebacker. I was disappointed in Perkins, but I have a high opinion of Perkins. That's why. I mean,
yeah, you had him as a day 2 pick.
I've had him in the first round for the longest time. I mean, here's a guy who I really think he needed to come to establish himself and to dominate the action. And he really didn't. I mean, it's great that he's here. Mm-hmm. It's great that he's competing. Credit to him for doing all that. But again, somebody like that who has some questions going. You remember Howard Perkins is a freshman, true freshman at LSU. Everybody thought he was going to be the next big thing. Had that injury, returned this year, played well, but it's just something missing.
Draft season, pardon me, is presented by Moody's, a proud partner of the New York Giants, uniting the brightest minds to turn today's risks into tomorrow's opportunities. Learn more at Moody's.com. All right, Tony, let's now turn our attention to the defensive backs. Not the strongest group of defensive backs here this year, but let's start at corner. And I think Avery Smith from Toledo had himself a really, really nice weekend.
I actually spoke with him after the first day of practice.
I interviewed him too. He was great.
Yeah, I think technically he was one of the, if not the best cornerback here. A quick and smooth back pedal, which you don't see a lot in college from cornerbacks because they prefer to side shuffle. Flipped his hips in transition, lost nothing, worked to get his head back around, wondering what his 40 time was going to be, because sometimes he seemed to struggle staying downfield with opponents. I know that he's estimated to be in the 4.5s. I spoke with him. He's telling me he's going to run a 4.4 at the combine.
Right.
We'll have to see. I mean,
raising those expectations a little bit.
Not the biggest guy in the world. May be able to play in zone or backed off the line of scrimmage, but there's a lot there to work with.
Absolutely. All right, let's go to safeties, Tony. I think it's a better safety group than it is a corner group. And Jalen Husky, the safety out of Maryland, made a couple plays on the ball over the course of practice. I know he's one of the guys that you were very excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a good run defender. The thing about Husky is even if you watch him Maryland, he's smart, he's patient, he's disciplined, he doesn't get caught out of position, and I think that showed here. In the one-on-ones against the tight ends, he was making plays, defending passes. In full scrimmage yesterday, he made a terrific play on an interception. So you see that, the guy's a good run defender. He has these other skills, the ability to pull it together.
No question about it. All right, and then a couple other safeties, Tony, I want to touch on that I thought did a pretty nice job. Cole Wisniewski out of Texas Tech.
Yeah.
I talked to him, great kid, 6'3", 214, and he's that type of big safety that NFL teams are looking for where you can make him your nickelback, so you can stop the run but also cover. And he comes from a good program in North Dakota State, transferred to Texas Tech, where he just got better.
Right.
And he's a very interesting player. I'm curious to see what his athletic testing is, but if he tests well athletically, he could end up pushing pretty high up in this draft class.
You look at Wisniewski, especially at North Dakota State, he looked more like a downhill safety, almost like a fourth linebacker the way they used him. And then last year at Texas Tech and here at the Shrine practices, all of a sudden he's doing a lot of different things. He's showing ability and coverage. I still think he's better suited as a two-deep safety or potentially a traditional strong safety, but I think he's done enough here to push himself into the third day because you're going to get maybe your third safety special teams player because he plays with a special teams attitude.
No question. And by the way, I was just alerted to by my editor that I referred to Eric Gentry from USC as Alvin Gentry on the video. So I'm sure he also did it on the podcast. It is USC linebacker Eric Gentry. Pardon me. All right, Tony. Anything else from this week or this game coming up on Tuesday that you want to hit on before we jump over to our little Senior Bowl preview?
No, I mean, some of the kickers I was looking at, hoping to see Stonehouse of Syracuse boot the ball through the ceiling. Really, they didn't really do too much punting. They did a lot of live kicking today. But no, I think we hit on it all.
All right, so let's kind of roll through Senior Bowl quicker. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but we'll go through each position group, Tony. We can each give maybe one guy that we're excited about. Quarterback, again, you look at the draft class in general. Diego Pavia, I know people will be excited to see him just because of the Heisman and all that stuff, but he's going to be a late pick if not a priority free agent. I know you're excited about to see Taylor Green in person from Arkansas, right? You've been kind of advocating for him all year.
Incredible athlete, but a guy that's got to put it together. Do we know for a fact Ty Simpson's not going to be there?
I have not heard that either way.
How many? Because
there are 6 guys right now.
Okay. Because I was wondering about that because, Drew told us in January he wanted 8 quarterbacks on the roster.
Well,
so I'm wondering if...
Clock's ticking.
Exactly. Ty Simpson, Carson Beck, or they're just going to sit with those 6.
Yeah, again, maybe the website on the Senior Bowl is not updated. That's what I'm going off of here. I figure that's the most updated.
Maybe they still haven't got a final decision.
Yeah, I want to see Garrett Nussmeier, too. I think that'll be fun. A guy that was, thought to be a first-round pick before the season started. Now, obviously, has dropped. I'm sure he would still like to push himself up into day 2. We'll see if he can help himself with the Senior Bowl, which a lot of guys can do. All right, let's jump over to the running back position here, Tony, as I look at this group. And you got two Penn State backs, Nick Singleton and Katron Allen. I'm a little disappointed that the second Notre Dame running back didn't end up going there. I thought
Price.
he might. Yeah, Price. Jonah Coleman, I'm excited about from Washington. Right. I think he's kind of that low center of gravity, quicker more so than fast, but he was a good back for the Huskies this year.
Jaden Ott of Oklahoma is going to be a guy to watch.
He was a late ad, yeah.
And now, we'll go through the whole story. 2 seasons ago, Jaden Ott was graded as a second-day pick by scouts.
Yeah.
And then in 2024, he had a bad season at California. His production was minimal. Transferred to Oklahoma, whose general manager is, by the way, one Jim Nagy, and did nothing at Oklahoma this year. To the point where you can't draft him. I mean, there's been no production for 2 years now. Now Jim Nagy gets him or somebody gets him into the Senior Bowl.
I'm sure Jim made a call on that.
So, there's sort of some potential redemption. The thing with Ott is this: he's got good size, he's got blazing speed, he beats defenders into the open field and can take it the distance. He was a solid pass catcher. He's just disappeared the past 2 years.
All right, and we do have some exciting wide receivers that are going to be there, Tony. And it's headlined by Casey Concepcion out of Texas A&M. He's probably going to be the highest drafted wide receiver there, but I also want to throw Elijah Surratt out there, who's kind of that big-bodied, ex-receiver. He's 6'2", he's 220. He'll probably be a late day 2 pick or early day 3 pick, somewhere in that area. But those are the 2 wide receivers that at least jump out to me.
We got to hope that Surratt's there. Remember, I mean, the Indiana guys didn't come to the Shrine Bowl.
Yeah.
I was told because they couldn't fly out. And the fact is this: Senior Bowl practices start on Tuesday. That's just 8 days removed from the national championship game. With Surratt, you're going to look at his quickness. Can he separate? Can he get that in kind of burst? Or is he
separation and one-on-ones will be huge for him.
Or is he just a contested catch guy? If he's just a contested catch guy, he's going to go much later than expected. You mentioned Harrison.
Casey Concepcion was the other guy that I mentioned.
Harrison Wallace of Mississippi by way of Penn State. He's a blazer. He's a guy that can get downfield. Hang on a second. You're going too fast.
I'm sorry about that, Tony. My bad.
That's right. Malachi Fields of Notre Dame, another bigger possession wideout who's got some quickness. You want to see if he can separate from his opponents. Ted Hurst of Georgia State, a guy I've really liked watching the past 2 years.
You've been all over Ted Hurst.
He's a bigger guy. He's an exceptional pass catcher, productive pass catcher in the Sun Belt. I think Georgia State was 1-11 last year. They were terrible. Now he gets a step up in competition, really can make a statement at the game.
All right, let's jump over now to the tight end position, Tony. Again, it's a very deep tight end class, so not a surprise that it's a good group. Tanner Koziel out of Houston is a guy that I would watch. Again, he's a guy that can do a little everything. He's a two-way tight end. That's probably the guy that I'm most excited about at the tight end spot.
Watch DJ Rogers as well, a guy who is a really good athlete but hasn't been a very productive tight end. Interested to see Dan Villari of Syracuse, who's a very late ad. That was kind of an interesting roster spot. He had a good year last season at Syracuse. Is he an NFL prospect? We'll find out next week. All
right, let's jump over to the offensive line here, Tony. And you always have all eyes on those O-line, D-line one-on-ones, which is why this is going to be a lot of fun. And Trezun, I know, is someone that you have a little on the line with how he does here and where he might end up getting drafted. Jennings Dunker out of Iowa, who played tackle in college. I bet you that we're going to see him at guard at the Senior Bowl would be my guess. Your man Isaiah World from Oregon is going to be there. His teammate Emmanuel Pregnon is going to be there. And those to me are probably the guys that jump out at me the most in terms of the offensive line group.
Watch Max Iannacore from Arizona State. He is a big, physical, athletic right tackle. He has been a mauler the past 2 years. I'm really excited to watch him. There are some positions at the Senior Bowl, quarterback, cornerback, and offensive tackle. Austin Corbett, we can go through the names, that guys who are just great on pass blocking that watch their draft stocks take off. Iannacore of Arizona State has that opportunity.
A good group to watch. And then really much, Tony, like this group here at the East-West Shrine game, the defensive line group is just really, really strong. I guess we'll start with the DTs here because those are the guys in the middle. And the guys you take a look at here, Dom Orange was supposed to be there. I don't believe he's going to be.
Quad issue, I'm told he's not going to be there.
We'll have to see he ends up going there. Caleb Banks out of Florida, Tony, obviously a very good player. He's more of your plugger. If you want an up-the-field guy, Zane Duran out of Penn State.
Banks,
go ahead.
Remember, Banks only played 2 games last season.
That's right.
A lot of people had high hopes for Banks coming into the season. People thought first round. Scouts graded him as a mid-second rounder. He only played 2 games. This is redemption time for him.
No question. Anybody else, the bigger guys in the middle that you want to keep an eye on, or should I jump to the ends and edges?
Hunter Lee of Texas Tech, a Central Florida transfer. He was a guy at Central Florida, but he turned into the man at Texas Tech. I mean, he is a 330-pound athlete. You know, we talked about some of the guys here who move incredible. Talk about Darrell Jackson, how well he moved here. You watch Hunter Lee on tape. You know, he's not just a guy that occupies the gaps. He can move laterally. He can twist and stunt. That's going to be a guy to watch.
All right, now let's go to the defensive end and edge players here, Tony, which are really exciting. It's probably the best group here. I like Max Llewellyn from Iowa. I think his tape is good. Danny Dennis-Sutton, I know he had a disappointing year this year, but I watched him again. I still think he's a good player.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And he's got that potential, no doubt about it.
I think he's still going to get drafted fairly high. Romello Height, you know who reminded me of Romello Height? Nick Benito. When I watched him, kind of like the smaller speed rusher off the edge.
Benito's a little more explosive, but I think that's a good comparison.
I think they're similar, but I think Height will go a lot earlier than Benito did. Because
Benito was a second rounder, wasn't he?
Did he go as high as a second round? I think a little bit later. Okay, so you know what?
And he's turned out to be a great player. I just thought he was woefully underrated coming out of Oklahoma.
So those guys may end up going around the same. We'll see where they end up going. Those 2 guys, really good players. And then T.J. Parker out of Clemson. That might be the highest drafted player there.
Coming off a bad season. Absolutely. Or disappointing season.
And then Zion Young out of Missouri. I think he's a guy that's going to either be an early day 2 pick or even maybe sneak into the end of round 1. So there are a bunch of guys. 2 guys I didn't mention were Ruben Bain and David Bailey. We'll see if they end up participating or not.
Right.
But even without those 2 guys, Tony, and Gabe Jackus from Illinois, by the way, another really good edge player.
One guy that you failed to mention that I can't wait to see is Derek Moore out of Michigan. Comes out of a 3-point stance, stands over tackle. He is just absolutely explosive. He is a game wrecker up front. Not the biggest guy in the world, was about 265 pounds or estimated about 265 pounds. Want to see what his weight is at the Senior Bowl and how he performs. I am a huge Derek Moore guy.
LT Overton, Tyreek Sapp was elevated. He was originally going to be here. He ended up going to Senior Bowl, and then we'll see if, again, played in the national championship game. We'll see if Akeem Mesidor participates. We never know with these guys that played so late in the year. All right, let me scroll down here, get to our linebackers here, Tony, very quickly as we kind of scroll through the rest of the defense. We got to wrap this up. I got a couple more interviews coming down here. I know you're a big Caleb Elam's-Orr guy from TCU.
Yes.
Jacob Rodriguez from Texas Tech is someone we've talked about here. Who else? Or you could talk about those guys.
Rodriguez is great making plays up the field. He basically is the master of the punch fumble. Let's see if what he can do making plays in reverse. Elam's-Orr, I like him. Want to see what his speed is. And who else we got on there? Xavier Sorey of Arkansas. So Arkansas had a terrible season, but if you're looking for a one-gap run-and-chase linebacker, Sorey's that type of guy.
All right, let's go to the defensive backs here, Tony. We go talk about safeties and cornerbacks together.
Right.
A couple guys I'm excited about. I thought Chris Johnson's tape at San Diego State was spectacular. I thought Chandler Rivers' tape at Duke was very, very good. I was impressed by both those guys. I thought Colin Wright's tape from Stanford was also pretty good. So I think there are some corners here, Tony, that maybe a lot of people aren't talking about now, but if they do well at the Senior Bowl against a pretty good wide receiver group, I think they can really help themselves in what's not considered the deepest position of the draft.
Chandler Rivers is a smaller guy. See how he does against those bigger receivers. Is he a nickel back? Is he a dime back? Charles Demings out of Stephen F. Austin, a terrific athlete who's got upside. How does he fare against better competition? And Julian Neal out of Arkansas. Again, Arkansas guys have been overlooked because of the terrible season they have. Neal's got size, he's got speed, and he's shown terrific ball skills in the past.
Oh, and Traden Stukes is someone we should mention who's kind of like a safety slot combo guy. D'Angelo Pons is supposed to be there. He did commit. We'll see if he ends up doing anything. Again, national championship game. It gets really tight and close. We'll see what happens with him. And then Colton Hood Wood from
Yes.
Tennessee. That was a really good ad. He might be the highest drafted corner in this group.
He may be like T.J. Parker, another first rounder.
Yeah, absolutely.
To come out of the Senior Bowl, but he was the guy who basically picked up the slack when Gerard Mayo went down with the injury. The other kid I'm looking forward to seeing is Jalen McMurray of Tennessee. Temple transfer, was highly rated at Temple. His game kind of fell off. If you watched the Tennessee tape this year, Jalen McMurray, who was their nickelback outside guy after the injury to McCoy, made a lot of positive plays, so I'm looking forward to watching him.
And I'll tell you, Tony, the one guy that I'm going to be watching one thing when it comes to Ohio State corner Davison Igbinosun.
Yeah,
how many
penalties.
flags get thrown when he's covering one-on-one? Because he's a big, physical, fast corner, but, man, he gets handsy. So it's something we'll have to keep an eye on.
I hate to say it, but, it's like a lot of Ohio State corners where their best season was freshman or sophomore season, and it kind of leveled off. We're not doing long snappers?
If you would like to do special teams, I'm very happy to.
Nah, we'll see. We'll wait until after. Hey, well, this guy was great kicking the ball.
Well, here's us knocking on wood that we will be there for the first practice on Tuesday. We hope so. DFW, get your act together.
I'll get out there with a shovel if they needed to.
Get the plow on the runway. Get some salt, and if everything works out, we will see you in Mobile for reports starting on Tuesday, and then we'll record a pod. Tony will join us on the Giants huddle with me and Matthew Sytak to wrap up the week after practice on Thursday. Because you're flying out Friday morning, you're probably flying out Thursday night.
Friday morning.
Okay, so we'll have time.
Pensacola.
So we'll have time or late on Thursday.
And hopefully it'll be a lot warmer in Mobile than it's been here.
It's supposed to be
in Dallas.
It's supposed to be anywhere from 45 to 55, depending on the day.
It's about 60 degrees warmer than it is here.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Tony, good stuff, my friend.
All right, brother.
Always a pleasure. It's been fun spending time with Tony here in Frisco. We head off to Mobile. That was this episode of Draft Season, presented by Moody's, a proud sponsor of the New York Giants. We'll talk to you from the Senior Bowl.